Hello and welcome to another edition of NHL Around the Ice with JT and Toast here on the stew with JT Brew. Stick with us. We've got trade deadline rumors, where we think guys might go. We'll talk a little about some of our favorite destinations on this episode. Stick with us. You're in the stew. I want to say hello to Toast, my co-host, and also we're having Aaron Tometich back for a second time. Aaron, thanks for joining us. Uh, we're a day early for everybody kind of looking at us Tuesday night instead of Wednesday. We had some stuff going on, trying to get all the trades in there before the trade deadline on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We had a few moves already. We're going to talk about some things we think might be coming up. The one move, Anthony Mantha, that came through tonight, traded from Washington to Las Vegas, 2024 second round pick, 2026 fourth round pick. He's got 20 goals, 17 assists in 56 games. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Washington kept 50% of his salary in the deal. Toast, what do you think about Mantha heading over to the Vegas Knights?
Uh, Vegas, you got to trust that Vegas knows exactly what they're doing, being the defending Stanley Cup champ. They're the ultimate team as far as lines 1 through 4. They can beat you many different ways, playing a fast style of hockey and also a really heavy game between the blue lines as well. And I think that's where Mantha comes in. When healthy, Mantha can do a little bit of everything. He can actually score the puck. He can actually get dirty with the hits, and really play that heavy game that really Vegas likes to play. So I think it's a good fit for Vegas, but a 2024 second and a 2026 fourth, to me, that's very, very heavy for a guy like Mantha, that is really just a rental and has been unreliable because he can't stay healthy. But Vegas does make sense.
Some other news around the league, New Jersey. I don't know how many times we've talked about them being one of the biggest disappointments in the league. Bam, the coach finally gets the axe. Aaron, what do you think about the Devils finally making a move with their head coach?
Oh, honestly, I think it's maybe too little, too late. Do this a couple months ago, or maybe do it around the around Thanksgiving. I don't know if they were hanging on to him, maybe for a sign of respect. Obviously, Lindy Ruff's had a long tenured career, NHL head coach, well respected. But man, it's just, couldn't get the guys go. Yeah, I had a good start, and surprised everybody in the playoffs last year, bumped off the Rangers. So the expectations were pretty high, but I just think I know they added some muscle. Can't remember the guy's name, McDermott, I believe, just
Yes.
recently. So it I like that move. Now with the coaching change and all that said, again, I liken it back to maybe if I were to draw a comparison from this year when Edmonton dumped their coach Woodcroft, I think is his name. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
when they dumped him, then they went on that heater, won God knows how many in a row. So I just think that it's the teams they're chasing are too big. The Lightning, the Red Wings. I mean, come on! I just don't see him catching either one of those. Even the Islanders. I just too little, too late. But overall, I supported the move. It was do this 2 months ago, and it might be in a different spot. And might have locked up one of those wild cards. So we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Now they'll probably snap off 8 in a row. Now that that's kind of been the we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, now it's time to get into our Toast Takes NHL trade deadline. Where's some moves? Some of these teams, who do we think they can maybe go out and get? Who needs to move some guys? Who needs to go out and grab somebody? The first team we're going to talk about tonight, Toast and my favorite to win the cup earlier in the season, kind of who we talked about the whole time, the Dallas Stars. The team's in the mix. They maybe haven't put up the offense that we thought they would this year. Still a really good team. They're a team that can maybe use a little bit of a jolt. They're playing tonight. Feel a little bit of a need with Chris Tanev coming over from Calgary, traded for a 2024 second and a 26 third and a 26 fourth pick to New Jersey for taking 50% of his remaining deal. He's an unrestricted free agent this summer, 34-year-old D-man. Toast, what do you think about this move for Dallas? And do you think after this move, do they got any more moves in them?
Yeah, this was I guess the first big splash of free agency. And really, it's I don't know what's a bigger story here. The Stars actually getting Chris Tanev, or Calgary and all of their issues, and really what appears to be a dump of just players. And we'll get into Calgary here in a bit. When still they're in contention. So it's just a little odd on what's going on. Obviously, Calgary has got a different trajectory for their team. And obviously, Dallas, as we all know, they're in win right now. They're win right now. So you mentioned JT. He's a UFA this summer, 34 years old. So obviously, he may have a couple years left in him. Maybe if it works out, they could go ahead and sign him on the cheap for the last couple of years of his career. Dallas still has about roughly $2 million in cap space, and they still got it, but they only got like a 2024 first, a fifth, and a seventh remaining. But they do have their first rounders in 25 and 26. So you got guys like Pavelski and Duchesne. They're coming off the books at the end of the season. That's like $6 or $7 million tied up there. So long term, they can actually still be in a good spot. But I don't know. And Aaron, I was maybe going to ask you. I mean, this is a great pickup for Tanev. I mean, if you look at Dallas, they're pretty strong on lines 1 through 3, and they got a really, really good check line on the fourth line as well. They got really good goaltending. And even with a guy like Wedgwood to actually come in and actually spell every once in a while, that's worked out well. But besides this, I don't know what else they need, man. They're looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I know Tanev comes at a significantly lower price. I don't know what Hannafin makes, but going back to your Calgary, Calgary kind of dumped a few of those assets. I thought Hannafin may come before Tanev, but Tanev, about $1.5 million or less than that a year. Dallas just didn't have the money in the bank, so to speak, with only $2 million left, probably for a Hannafin deal. I'd rather have seen Hannafin, but then you look at their top six, and they already have a pretty good top six. So Tanev's the seventh guy. I don't think he's played a game yet. I think they just had the game on Saturday. I don't think he was ready at it, so he should go tonight, I would assume. But who do they pair him up with? But overall, yes, it's the right move. Didn't have quite the picks. They've got a lot of guys in the pipeline. Right around that mid-level, 15th, or depending on what resource you use, but a pretty good farm system. Some of those younger guys have already come up or already out of the pipeline and on the team. All that said, so you've got the strong pipeline, you've got the good farm system, you've got the proven product on the ice. Yeah, what else? Why tip the apple cart? You got a pretty good thing going. So I think Tanev was the final piece. I don't think they'll do much after this. I really don't, just because they're so limited. They're going to have another team that's going to have to eat a pretty good amount of salary. So getting those, Tarasenko or Getzel or something like that, I just don't see it for them. And then where do you skate them anyway? They're pretty loaded on the top, at least the top three lines with a very effective fourth line. I mean, they're pretty loaded. I probably can't see it, but I got the Dallas jerseys up.
Yeah,
it's the trifecta for the Stars to at least make it out of the West and hopefully go on to that cup. But
well, and Aaron, that's well said. And if just look at their lines real quick, we'll talk about that before we actually move on from Dallas. But line 1, Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski. Line 2, Marchment, Duchesne, and then when healthy, Tyler Seguin. You got Jamie Benn, you got Wyatt Johnston, and then actually the Stankoven, the rookie who's really tearing it up of late, actually on the third line. And we haven't talked about Ty Dellandrea with Rasko Faska. You got Sam Steele and a Craig Smith. Those guys are all proven commodities, man. They don't have really any holes here. The only thing I could actually see them doing in the event that they really, really want to go heavy, and you talk about not wanting to upset the apple cart, is really maybe take a piece like Dellandrea, Maverick Bork, to really actually get somebody in the $4.5 to $5 million range and actually have that team take on 50% of their cap hit. And then they would still have to involve a third team to facilitate some other money to take on as well. aka Blackhawks, somebody like that, and actually send another pick. So given where they're at with their picks or lack thereof, given where their farm system's at right now, given where they're at sitting lines 1 through 4 with a great goaltending, and now reinvented blue line here that was already pretty darn good, they're ready to roll, man. I don't really see what else they would actually need to do. I'd be shocked if they made another move.
Speaking of Calgary, they've already made a couple moves. We talked about it here. What is happening with Jacob Markstrom? That's the question for the Flames. They've already shipped off Zadorov, Elias Lindholm, Monahan, Chris Tanev. Making some moves. It looked like Markstrom was going to go to New Jersey. Toast. Uh, Seems like that might have fallen through. What are we looking at? Is Markstrom going to get to Jersey? Is it too late? Is he going to go somewhere else? It feels like if Jersey was going to make this move for a goaltender, they should have done it a long time ago because their goaltending has been horrific this season.
Yeah, Jersey's goaltending's been awful. But let's first talk about Calgary. JT, I'll give you a pass on the pronunciations as usual.
Thank you.
Hey, no big deal there,
You
buddy.
guys butchering them.
Yeah, Nikita Zadorov. I think he ended up. He went to Vancouver, I believe, or Winnipeg. I can't remember which one. Elias Lindholm. Sean Monahan, who heck, they got a first-round draft pick for Sean Monahan going to the Canadians. I was shocked. What I will say, Calgary actually is kind of selling off right now. They've actually been a lot better of late. They've had a pretty good last month or so, and man, they are selling off, and they're actually taking people to town with what they're actually getting for these guys. But it's funny you talk about Markstrom. Yeah, he's not happy. And the reason I think he's not happy, I listened to a couple other pods, read some articles as well, and it's it's a little bit of I guess mistrust with the management there at New Jersey with the hockey ops. They had kind of maybe pitched it when he came here that this would be a team that would actually contend and they were going to do this or that. And with their fire sale of guys, and especially Lindholm, if I remember right, he's only 25 years old. So Dorov's 26 years old. Now Monahan's older as well, but you're actually moving some younger pieces, and really it's a fire sale of talent. And so it looks like Markstrom actually was leaked that there was a deal in place to get him to New Jersey. It fell apart. From what it sounds like, is New Jersey still wants to actually sign Markstrom, and Markstrom does actually have a no trade clause, but nevertheless, as pissed off as he is actually in New Jersey right now, I think he'd be willing to waive it to anybody competitive in any type of franchise that's actually got a good they actually have a good reputation for actually treating players well. It's funny they're 2 spots and 7 points out of a wild card spot. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. And then let's say you were to actually squeeze in there to that last wild card spot in the West. I mean, who are you going to play the first round? Vancouver? You're going to play Vegas? You're going to play Edmonton? Somebody like that. Now Markstrom could stand on his head, but odds are you're not getting too far anyway. They may just see the writing on the wall, where they're just basically saying we're going to go ahead and sell off here. So it'll be interesting to see where Markstrom actually goes. New Jersey, like you said, JT, they're in desperate need of a goalie. Actually, desperate need of a goalie. So I don't know. Here's the deal: Dan Vladar has not been very good for Calgary. Young, upcoming goalie, but if you actually look at his save percentages and his goals against averages here over the last 4 years as a backup goalie, they have not been very, very good at all. Do you guys, besides New Jersey, and I don't know if you've actually given it much thought, I don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but have you thought about where he could potentially go? I mean, we know a lot of the teams that technically need a goalie, but I almost think it's New Jersey kind of or bust.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. New Jersey would have been the perfect fit, and again, well, you look at the Lindy Ruff move, maybe, too little too late, or you get him. Well, with Markstrom, I mean, they need him now. They don't have anybody that can play net. They need him now. Absolutely, hands down, best fit New Jersey without question. I don't know Freddie Anderson's. I know Carolina's got some. They've kind of been playing the goalie carousel. But Carolina never does anything at the deadline. They or at least they didn't. Now, I don't know if they, maybe they maybe goalie they'd have somebody else. Like again, I'm going to use Gensel here, but I'd rather see him get a guy like that. But I could potentially see that, especially in the playoff run. But again, I just don't know enough about um, um, if Anderson's going to return. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then the other team I would have thought, but there's no way it would happen. But the Oilers, I know they've got they've got scraps. They've got probably 2 million, 2.5 million maybe that they could spend. So you, number one, you'd be trading with your arch nemesis, your all-time rival. Number two,
Yeah.
you'd be asking them to retain some salary, and number three, it's your rival. So no, they're never going to deal Markstrom. And I think that the Oilers, again, reading some of the reports out of there, and then also listening to some other pods as well, I think they're committed to Skinner anyway. So they might have might not have even wanted to pay the price, and I have no idea what's in their system or who they have up and coming. I don't know if the price would have been a little steep too, but yeah, outside of that.
And guys, I'm just playing like, I don't know, a bunch of guys standing by the water jug type of talk here. Okay, so let's have a little bit of fun with this. So you got Carter Hart, who actually is out of the league right now, suspended. He's actually he's got sexual assault charges. The rumor is that's not even going to get cleared up till maybe 2026. And so you got to think he's out of the league either a long time or permanently. And really, you look at Philadelphia. And again, I've seen no reports of Philadelphia actually shopping for a goal, even though they got Samuel Ersson, a young, for the most part, unproven type of goalie that's actually done fairly well this year. But they got like Felix Sandstrom as a backup, and he's on emergency loan. I mean, so here's my thought: is like right now, it looks like Philadelphia is actually showing 6.2 million or $5.8 million at the cap space. They have current cap space of $5.8 million. They got 2 first rounders next year, 2 second rounders, and they actually have a first rounder in 25, 2 second rounders in 25. Now, we do know that Calgary, they got plenty of money coming off the books. So if they're going to get rid of Markstrom, it's not because they want to dump his 2-year, $6 million deal. It's mainly because you actually have a relationship that's fractured between a team, and they both think that the best thing is just to kind of move on from it. But they are definitely going to want to come back with a first-round draft pick for him. I mean, especially a goalie of his pedigree. He, even though he is older on that side, but you know how goalies can actually play well into their mid-30s and actually still be effective. Maybe Philadelphia could actually be a Cinderella team, a wild card team that comes out of nowhere and actually wants to pick up Markstrom as a goalie. Because right now they're sitting third in the Metropolitan Division. They got 72 points. Let's see in the wild card here. That is, geez, they're hanging on to the wild card spot. They're in a 3-way tie with Philadelphia, or Philadelphia is with Detroit and Tampa Bay, all hanging on to those last 3 wild card spots. Maybe they actually need a little bit of help at goalie. Let's take a look at Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say for you guys. I was going to say Carolina would be the other one, and I was going to say Philly. Those seem like the 2 teams that are pretty much in the running for the playoffs. That could use some help there. So I definitely agree with you guys on that. Those would be kind of the landing spots I would see them. In Calgary, like you said, Toast, they're not that far out of it. But at this point, I think they made their decision. They're already starting to move guys. They've kind of said, hey, we're out on this year. We're going to get better for next year. And once you start bailing, you just got a full bail. You can't just kind of, you got to make every move you can move. So I think they make every move they can, get every pick they can, clear as much space as they can. I think it's a good move for them. Let's move on to our
it's kind of like
it's
kind of like Toast making 10 trades in one or 5 trades in one day in the fantasy league, and all of a sudden I've won 9 in a row. And so you got to go. You're going to go, and you're not going to let up. You're going to go all out. You're either going to you've made your bed, and maybe that's what Calgary's done, JT.
I agree with you. So let's move on to number 3 on our trade list here. DVY, the Detroit Red Wings. Are they going to make some moves? Is he going to pull a trigger here? We talked about this. They're maybe a year or 2 ahead of where they thought they would be at this point. Firmly in the playoff race, a team that, lived in the playoffs for decades. And now it's been a decade since they made the postseason. Huge blow to the Red Wings. Dylan Larkin, out with an injury at least next 2 weeks. Does that make them push to make another move? Now they've got some talent finally for once around Larkin. Patrick Kane's been great. They got DeBrincat, they got Raymond. They actually kind of got the secondary guys up with Top, Fabry, Comfort. There's still guys that are playing some pretty nice hockey for them. Do you guys think that the Wings need to make a move? They're outside, playoffs, a first round win would be huge for them. They're probably not in the mix for the cup this year. Do you think it's worth going out there and spending big, maybe trading away some draft picks to get somebody else this year? Or do you think they should maybe stay pat?
Well, JT, I mean, do I have to say it every single podcast? Detroit is a playoff team, right? And we know that. They're going to make playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. They're playing really, really good right now. Their best hockey this season. But I think they're going to be active at the deadline. They got $13 million of space right now. They got all of their draft picks, remaining over the next 3 years. They've given nothing up because Stevie Y's got the guys are playing, and he's really done it the right way. You got a guy like David Perron, who's actually older. It's going to make close to $5 million. That's coming off the books at the season's end. You got to make a decision on Patrick Kane. I would assume that's a decision that's going to be mutual, that he will be back. That they know that now, hey, he's not lost a step. If anything, he's just the same Kane as he was before. They'll sign him to a multi-year contract. He's going to stay there. And they got to sign Lucas Raymond to his first big contract. So, and you also have a guy like Shane Gostisbehere actually coming out the books, just over $4 million as well. So, saying all of that, what I'm saying is Detroit is in a good position now to get super aggressive at the deadline and actually add a guy that also is going to help him not only this year, but for years to come, and actually still have good strength in the organization to not jeopardize their cap space and their flexibility. They can do both. So I think they're in an amazing spot. Aaron, I was going to ask you because honestly, if you look at like Kane and Larkin and DeBrincat and Raymond, those are their first and start to the second line guys. Then they have those role players like JT was saying, like Sprong and Kopp and Perron and Fabry and Comfort. They need one more stud on that second line, I think. And there's a spot right there in the left wing, and don't know if you guys actually have any ideas of who actually is out there that would make sense to actually play with these guys, but it just makes too much sense that they would actually sit pat. I think they actually have a luxury where they could actually get aggressive here and really have a big free agent signing.
Yeah. I mean, well said on the left wing. It's going to be the third time I name drop him, but Gensel. I mean, that'd be your guy. And the only thing hesitation, and I think you said it best when I don't know, and who knows? What do I know? I'm guessing. Like you said, it's water cooler talk, but the eyes are playing. Were they supposed to make the playoffs? But now, and then in net, you got Alex Lyon, you got Lyon. He single-handedly took the Panthers on that heater last year that got them into the playoffs, carried him. Bob came in and was awesome, lights out in the playoffs. So you got a guy that's done it. He's your netminder. I have full confidence he can do it again. He's just dragging these teams one after another into the playoffs with him. You've got a solid defense core. I mean, with that much cap space, though, is it too crazy to say Hannafin and Getzel? I mean, if you add those two, then I'm going to change my favorite for the East. But that's wishful thinking. That may be impossible. But if I was just to pick one guy, yes, I totally agree. You got your left wing as your biggest need. Getzel was Tarasenko. I think he's right, isn't he?
He's a right winger.
Wing. Yeah. So he. I'd say that he's going to stay right wing. So no, I think I totally agree though. They've got the one big headline grab name, and I think Gensel's your guy. I hope they do it. The playoffs are just better with Detroit in. Love them, hate them, boo them. They got crazy fans that throw the octopus on the ice. You got, it's just a great city, and they've. Again, it's a throwback to those teams that they dominated for so long, and they deserve to be there. The drought. I can relate to the drought as a Hawks fan. It was a while before we saw the playoffs again, so just better when they're there. And David Perron, he's so nasty. He's such a piece of
Mhm.
shit. I love watching that dude just gets under the skin. Every team needs him, and so that they're good to
Yeah,
go.
JT,
And Toast,
he's your asshole,
no,
but
I know he is. It's like I've never really liked him until he's on the team this year, and I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't like
yeah,
him. He's like he's on our team. Toast, I got two guys I'm going to throw at you and see what you think about these guys on the Red Wings. First off, Riley Smith, a proven winner. He's been up and down this year. Older player, 32, but he could maybe give a little juice to that second or third line. And the other guy I'm seeing his name floating around a lot. I'm gonna butcher it, so you can correct me as soon as I butcher the pronunciation. But Pavel Buchnevich,
yes.
that's close. There you go. The question is, what are they going to have to give up to get him from St. Louis? St. Louis don't like to give Stevie Y anything. So he's made some moves with them in the past. The question is, I love that move, but the question is, are they going to have to give up a first or some really high picks in order to get him? What do you think about either of those moves for the Red Wings?
So well, let's just compare all these guys because Buchnevich, Gensel, and Smith, they would all actually be really good fits. So I think this is crazy enough. Obviously, Riley Smith or Jake Gensel would actually be the easier of the three to actually land. And a reason I think that, and again, this is just me thinking, again, water cooler talk here, guys, but basically Pittsburgh's a mess. They're an absolute mess. And nothing's actually worked out. They actually went out and got Eric Carlson, and even though his statistics actually look good, they're not a better team for it. They've actually got him locked up for $1 gazillion and a gazillion years as well. Crosby's having the best season, one of the best seasons of his career still, or whatnot. But man, this Pittsburgh team they're long term, they're almost like the Blackhawks were in 2017, 2018, 2019. A pretty good team, but they were do nothing, man. And they're actually just getting further and further, further in Cap Hill as well. Knowing that Pittsburgh is kind of that long term, they're kind of in that long term hell, so to speak, and they're actually going that way. Pittsburgh may not end up having the leverage that they actually normally would have actually had. They may be a little bit desperate to actually just move some pieces to actually start planning for the future. That's why at Gensel, who holds a $6 million AAV cap hit, really Pittsburgh won't even have to retain any of that. Detroit would be able to take on all of that as well. And again, we talked about Detroit. They got plenty of picks. And a guy like Gensel, I think guys, is he only like 26, somewhere around there, 26, 27?
I'm gonna look it up.
He,
He's late 20s. Let me look it up right now,
okay,
but I think you might be right.
he's fairly young, and he's supposed to be back here in about 10 days. And I just think that would be a match made in heaven. If it ends up being where it wasn't him, Riley Smith would end up being a pretty good selection. Reason being is he would actually be extremely cheap. He's at $5 million cap hit for the rest of the year. And honestly, Pittsburgh would probably retain some of that as well to make it work. And you talked about the winning pedigree, JT. I mean, the guy's actually was a mainstay in Vegas, and ever since Vegas came into the league, they've actually been a contender for the cup almost every single season, and he knows what it takes to actually win. I think Riley Smith actually getting on that team and really being, I mean, you could get really, you could actually pair him up and actually put him on a second line on the left side with Riley Smith, actually being on the on the left side, and then actually Patrick Kane on the right side, and maybe a JT Comfer in the middle as well. I mean, that looks pretty good. That makes Comfer a whole lot better as well. Now your first and second lines are very balanced. So even if you get actually Riley Smith, I think it's definitely an upgrade on what they have. So all we do know is Detroit, they're definitely going to make a move. Now Buchnevich, I don't know why he's like being dangled here. And the reason being is because St. Louis has played out their ass. They played way better than anybody thought. And here's the deal. I don't even know if St. Louis thinks they're that good, but they keep winning games. So I can't figure them out, man. I quit betting against them. I'll tell you that because every single time I do, they win. But he has a one-year contract near $6 million left as well. So he's got some term. And he could also play a little bit of center. And so that may end up helping out when, Larkin's out for these next couple of weeks. He does have a modified no trade clause, and who knows? He probably is pretty happy in St. Louis. I don't know if he'd actually want to go. So, but it would probably be more likely they land one of those Pittsburgh guys. But that's the most entertaining piece and team, I guess, out of the entire deadline for me is Detroit and what they're going to do.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Buchnevich, 28 years old. On the year, he's got 48 points on the season. Gensel is 29. He actually has just at a point per game. He's at 52 points in 50 games this year. Riley Smith, 32. He's down a
Been
little
hurt.
bit in his production this year with the injuries and stuff, but maybe he's one of those guys. He moves on, goes to another place, and sees a little rejuvenation playing for somewhere else. So I think all those things could be interesting for the Wings. We say you get a goalie hot, you make the playoffs. It'd be tough, but I think they could make some noise in the playoffs if they get in there. I've liked what they've done this year. I'd like to see them make one move. Obviously, you don't want to give up the house for somebody at this point, being a wild card team. But I'd love to see them make a move, especially with how much cap space they have.
Yeah,
Let's talk about.
and JT, real quick,
Mhm.
Gensel, you get a guy like him, you're definitely actually going to be trading for him, but there's going to be some type of discussion like an extension, right? Like getting action extension in there. I
Yep.
could imagine that Stevie Y, not many people's going to tell him no. You get Gensel in there, he's not going anywhere. And I mean, so that's what I'm excited about Detroit. They can basically get him now, not actually mortgage the farm, and still actually have a long-term piece moving forward. I think it'd be great.
That's what I like about it. If they make that move, I think they're going to actually have a realistic shot at re-signing him. So to a bigger contract. So because they do have space, some of these other teams don't have space. They're getting a guy for the second half of the season. That's going to be it, and they know it. The Red Wings are one of the few teams that say, "Hey, there's a little tryout here. Like, come see what what our system is. See what our culture is." And then you get those guys like, "Oh man, I kind of like it here. It's kind of nice." And then maybe you talk those guys into making a contract. It's Stevie Y. He's a winner. He talks guys into it. So he gets a guy in the building like that. You never know what's going to happen. So there's definitely a possibility there.
Mm-hmm.
Next up on our list, number 4. What are the Ducks doing? We've got Trevor Zegras. He's kind of a guy out there. Are they maybe willing to trade him? There's a few guys out there, some really nice players. The question is, are teams willing to give him up? Aaron, what do you think about Zegras? Are the Ducks? Is this something they're thinking about doing, or do they hold him? What are they thinking here? Coming up on the deadline.
It was crazy because I really saw who is it? Terry, who's the guy they signed long term? Can't think of his. I think
Troy
it's his
Terry.
last name. Troy Terry. Yes, I saw Zegras and Troy Terry as being the kind of 1-2 combo. Kind of throwback to the last pod, but so it shocks me to have this that he's rumor is that he's looking elsewhere or they're maybe looking to shop him. And then last happened, they got Leo Carlson, and Mason McTavish is finally becoming the player that he was in the I think it was the World Cup, Junior World Cup, just this lights out kind of two-way center. Now Anaheim's brutal right now, right? But with Zegras, he's that kind of flashy, kind of big name, and those guys are so few and far between. As Anaheim grows, or they kind of mature, and they have again a loaded pipeline, all these guys that are NHL ready. I just have a hard time thinking that they would do that. So I would say that they hang on to him. I know he's got the kind of bridge deal going, but with the cap going up next year potentially, I don't know. And then again, playing kind of devil's advocate here. If he went somewhere else, I know there's some rumors, but I'm gonna really latch onto one as just a complete homer and just say the Hawks because just because I want it to happen. So I'll say it now. It probably won't, but would like that because some of the rumors, like you go and you play for the wrong coach, like Zegras. When you think of Zegras, you think of the Michigan goal. Well, there's some of these old school kind of old coaches out there that are still in the league. They don't like that. they'll get on the podcast, they'll get on the news, they'll get the interviews, and that's no place in hockey. And this guy's all about the show. If he gets like on a big, like say an East Coast team, like I'm not saying he go to the Rangers, but just an example. But you go to a place like Chicago, you go to a place like the Rangers, you go to a place like Boston. Again, all these players, there's no way these caps would work, but except for the Hawks. But you give him a big market, it might be a guy that kind of grows your game a little. So there could be some interest in that. I just don't see the Ducks right now. They're just not pulling in those kinds of numbers. They're kind of a second fiddle to the Kings. All that throws out the window if they start winning and these young guys start winning, then nobody's going to care. You're going to wish you kept him if you didn't. But yeah, I just don't. Who knows though? I mean, I would be surprised if he did go.
Yeah, and
Toast, there's some rumors him maybe going to the Flyers. It seems crazy to get rid of a guy this young, this talented. But what do you think about maybe the rumors that say the Flyers might go out there and try to get him?
yeah, I like Aaron's angle. Have him go to the Hawks. I mean, that makes perfect sense for me. I mean,
I love it. He's like, I love it.
yeah,
sign
but
him up.
but Aaron actually mentioned something really well. I mean, and Zegers is a flashy player. I wouldn't say he's a hot dog, but well, maybe he's kind of teetering on a kind of a hot dog. And really, he's been rumored actually going to the Flyers. You think Tortorella's actually going to deal with that shit? No. I mean, so that's I don't know why he's being actually rumored for a trade at all. And really, is actually being rumored to the Flyers. And mainly, the Flyers have so many picks in hand, and they got $6.2 million in cap space this season. They're actually thinking about actually moving Sealer and Walker as well. Their tandem. Is it me or is like Philly in a great spot, but yet they're not actually afraid to trade anyone? And they still expect to win. I love their culture of actually what they're doing. But he'd fit really, really nice next to a guy like Farabee and Konechny, or and maybe next to Tippett on the second line as well. But I just don't really see that. I do see like maybe the Hawks could actually come in. They got so much to offer. Their odds are that they could very well get the number one pick this year and actually get a guy like Celebrini. And if you got a guy like Zegras and Bedard, that's your 1-2, or a Bedard Zegras 1-2 punch down the middle. I mean, you're really kind of set at center now. You don't have that big center that you're actually looking at, big heavy center, so to speak. But I mean, the Hawks got so many players and so many players in the pipeline and so many picks and so much cap space that they can figure that out through free agency and really move those guys around as needed. I do wonder if, Aaron, you mentioned it, Leo Carlson being a center, second overall pick in 2023, which was really a surprise. You know, we actually all expected Fantilli to go number 2 overall, especially given they actually had Zegras and they already had McTavish as well. And then they go get Leo Carlson. That was a little bit of a shocker. And also McTavish third overall in 2021. And then the big one was Cutter Gauthier actually coming over from Philadelphia. And then they did the Drysdale swap because Cutter Gauthier basically had said, I'm not playing for the Flyers. So he ends up in Anaheim. So now you got a surplus of centers. And maybe that's the only reason he's being rumored, and part of a deal, because now you're too center heavy. You got too many of them. And Gauthier was a 5th overall pick in 2022. McTavish 3rd overall in 2021. Carlson 2nd overall in 2023. And then you got a guy like Zegras, and I forget, but he was way up there as well. Is there room for all of them, right? So they're probably thinking, okay, he's on a sweet bridge deal, like Aaron said right now, $5.75 million AAV 1 through 3. What can we get for this guy, and can we keep all of them long term anyway? That's probably the only reason it's being dangled. If I'm the Hawks, man, I'm saying, hey, I got a number 1 pick. I got a first round pick, not this year, but I actually got a first round pick because we got 2 of them. And then I may end up having like a second round pick in a 2025 draft or whatever. And let's do this. And what other trades can we help facilitate as a third party and whatnot? But I did think about the Hawks. So we'll see where that goes, man. But I'd be shocked if Zegras goes anywhere, honestly.
We had a comment from our friend Mike, said, had to bring up Fantilli not going number 2 in the draft again, eh? As our buddy Mike lost a pretty penny on Fantilli not going number 2 in the draft. We thought that was a lock. It did not happen. Mike, We still feel bad for you.
Yeah,
That one
and
hurt
Mike,
everyone.
that was my fault. I told Mike about 5 months before the draft to put $1 million on it. Well, I don't know if Mike put $1 million, but let's just say he put quite a bit. And then he realized, he said, "Oh, you mean the draft's not next week? I got to sit and wait for this money and actually have it in play for 5 months? Yeah, sorry about that." And then he doesn't actually go, and then he goes number 3, which is complete shock. Guys, before we go on to the next topic, it's almost as shocking as the Hawks scoring 4 power play goals tonight. 4.
Oh, wow.
4. And we're through 2 periods. I mean, that
Yeah,
just goes
well,
to show you
4-2
how
right
bad
now on the
Arizona
Hawks.
is, man. They scored 4 power play goals so far. They're 4 for 4 in a power play. Unbelievable.
Wow, that could bring them up to double digits for the
Yeah,
year. Maybe
exactly.
get them to 10%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our last topic, a team we're going to talk about that's just on a crazy winning streak, getting themselves back in the playoff mix. Are they sellers or are they buyers now? The Nashville Predators have won 8 in a row. They're up to 35-25. They have 72 points on the season, tied with the Kings for the last wild spot, 7th and 8th in the Western Conference. Vegas at 73 points, 1 point ahead of them. Nashville's making a little bit of a run here. Calgary's right behind them. They look like they're sellers. St. Louis is slightly behind them. Do they have enough punch? Seattle's also sitting there. Yeah. Does Seattle have anything in the tank? So it looks like they're definitely a chance to make the as a playoff team. But what do we think about the Predators? Is this a team that should be buying? Is this a team that should be selling? Do they have enough? Can they actually win a playoff round if they get into the playoffs? Can they win in the first round? Can they make a run? What do you guys think?
Um, I don't think they can make a run, but I'm also torn whether or not they should actually sell off right now. Nashville, um, they 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 actually have new management now this season. They've made a concerted effort to actually get faster, because they've traditionally been a slower team as well, and they have done that. And if you look up and down their lineup, it's not all that great. I mean, they actually have a really nice Forsberg, and then Ryan O'Reilly has actually been awesome. He's almost rejuvenated his career. Not that it really needed much rejuvenation. He was always really good in St. Louis, and I hated him. And him and Perron both. Let's say I hated them both. So there's a lot of talk right now about UC Saros actually being on the block. 28 years old at $5 million AV cap hit through next season. That's a great contract. It's a really good contract, and it's surprising enough he doesn't have any contract clauses for a guy that good who's been in a top 5, top 6 goalie in the league for as long as he's been. He's only 28 years old. To not have any movement clauses in your contract is really shocking to me. But the only thing keeping Nashville back that they actually may want to do this is the fact that they got so much dead money cap hits that they're kind of in that dead cap hell, so to speak, and they need to try to do everything they can to try to get out of it. And they have tons of picks. They actually have, besides the dead cap money, they're in actually a really good cap space as far as their 23-man roster goes. But I don't know. I don't know why it's so rumored that actually Saros is actually maybe on the move. I know Kevin Lankin has actually played well, the ex-Blackhawk factor there, but let's face it, he's no UC Saros. But man, would some teams love to have Saros? I mean, geez, you talk about the Torontos, you talk about the Edmontons, you talk about the Devils there. They would all love to actually have a guy like Saros. Hell, the Kings would love to have him. So I don't know if he goes anywhere. It doesn't really make sense for them to actually do this, but I don't know why it's being such heavily rumored here. Uh, Aaron, have you seen anything out there regarding Saros? Have you? I mean, would you be shocked if he was moved?
Yeah, I would be shocked. I would be shocked. I think he's that that high pedigree goalie. Just everything you'd want, and gosh, I wouldn't say it's as coveted as a commodity as like a quarterback is to the NFL, but it's close. It's real close, and nobody that's ever won the cup has well. And again, you can argue this too. Usually it's not done by committee. You usually ride the hot hand, and it starts and ends with a good goaltender. So yes, I would be shocked to answer your question, but and it's not Lankinen, but it's somebody other. Again, the name escapes me, but I think they got a stud on the way, and that's what I've read or what I've heard is kind of why he's in that conversation. But if I'm Nashville, I mean, yeah, they do not have the depth to make a run. Um, but I, have kind of watched this, and it's funny because I heard the story. I think it was on the Chicklets podcast, but talking about how the Nashville, they were going into Vegas and they were all going to go to the U2 show. They played at that dome or whatever that thing is,
Mhm.
and they had not played well as of late. So the coach canceled it, said nobody's going. Made them, I don't know if made a practice, but ever since then they've won 8 in a row. So and Nashville's a fun city. It's a fun team I'm glad they have a team. I like those little, the kind of it's just a fun. So I get all wrapped up in the city of Nashville itself and how much fun it is and how I'd like to see them. And I'm kind of thinking, yeah, go for it. Maybe don't make a big splash, like you said, Toast. They got tons of this dead money, but maybe there is something they can work out. Maybe there is a deal they could finagle and just make the playoffs. Sell those first round of tickets, make a few bucks, and then maybe this season you kind of you dig in and you reorg at that point because I just don't see the depth enough. There's not enough. There's no namers on the checking line, no namers on the fourth line, and
Mm-mm.
I just don't like even if you put again going back Gensel, Tarasenko, Buchnevich, you put somebody like this in this, what does it really do?
Yeah.
It gets you 6 games in the first round, and then now you're down. It'd be short lived, but you're stuck with more dead money. So
Yeah, and,
I
and, and I'm with you on that. And here's the deal: everybody would think that, boy, you could get a king's ransom for Saros. And
yeah.
here's the deal: they probably could, but the
Hmm.
only teams that actually need a goaltender are the teams that are actually in it right now. And the teams that are in it right now, they don't have the cap space.
Yeah.
They don't have the cap space to take it on unless they would have to. They would have to facilitate a third team, and Nashville would have to take on half of his money, which is $2.5 million this year, $2.5 million next year, which they probably wouldn't want to do considering they're already taking on a lot of dead money.
Yeah.
But imagine the number of picks they could get in return for a guy like this. And like you said,
Yeah.
they got Yaroslav Askarov. It's kind of waiting in the wings there, right? And he's kind of their goalie of the future. I know they drafted him very, very high a few years back. And so maybe they're thinking, well, the sell time now is on its Saros is now, and if we could actually get a million for him, and if we don't do it now, then we have to extend it. We need to make a decision. So you would think that a team that's won 8 in a row wouldn't actually want to trade him, but I don't know. They probably won't. They probably won't. But it wouldn't shock me either, especially if he's going to have to command at least a couple first rounders in return. And who knows, maybe even a prospect as well. I mean, it would be a
Yeah.
haul they would get for Saros.
Yeah. For sure.
I mean, it's not like he's making $10 million Bobrovsky money either. He's making
Right.
$5 million. It's crazy. This is a crazy good deal for a goalie that's only 28. He's still in his prime.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's jump into the final face-off of the evening. Anybody we didn't talk about? Any team you think should be out there buying? Any team you think should be out there selling? Coming up here on the trade deadline, trying to make a move either for the playoffs this year or a move to move some guys for the future. Toast, I'll start with you, and then we'll head to Aaron, see kind of what he thinks. Is there anybody we talked about that should be maybe looking to make a guy, or a team that should be selling somebody? Who's a guy that's out there just kind of sitting, taking up space on a roster that isn't doing that team any good, but could maybe do something for someone else?
Yeah, Frank Petrano would actually fit fairly well in Nashville if they did end up facilitating a trade. He's an Anaheim winger, 29 years old, and Anaheim's just in that sell mode right now. They know they're not really close yet, but man, they got so much young talent. And by the time they get it all together, Petrano's going to be 31, 32 years old, and really they may be thinking he's kind of, will his stock ever be higher, right? I mean, he's at 29 goals this year, 19 assists, 191 shots on goal, man. He shoots a ton. But here's what I like for Toronto. even though Nashville is actually wanting to get a whole lot faster, and they are faster than they've actually been in years past. But Nashville's always had that kind of like I'll beat your ass between the blue lines type of mentality to him as well. And Vetrano actually hits a lot, 119 hits. He's got 64 block shots as well, and he's got one more year on what's a really sweet deal, a $3.65 million AAV deal left. So he's going to command quite a bit. But I don't know. I get to see him in a Nashville uniform, and like Aaron was saying, man, after line one, they're pretty thin. And they probably need more help than just Vetrano. But you got Forsberg, you got O'Reilly, you actually got Nyquist as well. So I mean, really, they probably wish they had Duchesne back this year and actually sent him to Dallas because he's tearing it up. But that's just because Dallas is so damn good. But Vetrano actually would have looked really nice on that second line, or moving those guys around where they can actually pair them all up, especially on the power play. But he scores in bunches. He's a big body to throw around. That just seems to be that type of predator player that you'd have in that system. So if he doesn't go to Nashville, but Toronto may go somewhere. I expect him to go somewhere. Expect Anaheim to actually move him.
Yeah, I like that. And yeah, for Toronto, it's funny because well, thinking of our our keeper league, he was out, as a free agent for some time, and somebody picked him up, and it was one of those, with that amount of money, I think he's proven his worth, and then caught a few Anaheim games here recently where he's again, he's getting a lot of separation. He's just he scored a backhand goal maybe 2-3 nights ago that, gosh, he just looked like the best player on the ice for a while. So yeah, he's getting little again right on the cusp of 30. So getting up there as far as an age goes, but definitely kind of hitting his prime. Yeah, that definitely be the flash they're looking for. And I would say my pick, or who did we who would we want? I don't have like a good blueprint for him, but I'm going to go with the Islanders. The Islanders are a few points out of that last spot. I mean, they're going to face the mountain that's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning aren't going anywhere. And then you got the Red Wings, which I just said the league's more fun when the Red Wings are in the playoffs. So I don't think it's very realistic, but I would love to see the Islanders win. They definitely need help on their back line. Hannafin would be a good fit there, amongst others. I can't think of anybody top of mind who else that might be that impact. But if they got Hannafin, I have no idea if they'd have the cap room. Only reason I want the Islanders in is Patrick Waugh. Patty Waugh, I hated him when he played. He was such a knucklehead when on all those Colorado. He crap talk. I remember when he and Roenick were going back and forth in the press, and he was chirping Roenick, so I hated him. But oh my gosh, he's so fun to watch as a coach, and I think he's kind of leveled out. I don't know. Again, you just hear things, you read things, you watch clips on YouTube, and when he first was in the NHL, and he was game one, he's barking at the other coach, and he tried to get over the separator there to go out. I don't remember who. I think it was it Trotz. I don't remember. Anyway, tried to go and attack the other coach in his first NHL game.
I
So
like that guy. Yeah.
I do, and he's got the goalie there. He's got Sorokin, so he can connect as a goalie, and I just love to see the guy in the playoffs. I really like him. I hear he's just a nut. So yeah, the Islanders, but I just it's slim to none. I'm not putting any money on that. But I'll put it that way. I'd rather. I think I got a better bet in Nashville catching fire here, staying hot and sticking with it. So
Well,
we'll see.
and you know what, Aaron, I love the fact you brought them up, and we kind of transition from Vetrano. They got $2.5 million in cap space, and they actually have picks to give. I don't know what their farm league actually looks like, but nevertheless, you tell me or not, with guys like Horvat and with Anders Lee and Brock Nelson and JG Pageau, Paul Mary, he'd fit in perfect there.
Yeah.
It's almost like a match made in heaven there. I mean that I'd love to see that Vetrano actually going to the
Yeah.
Islanders. And hey, JT knows, like, they're my dark horse just because of the fact that they brought some offense this year. We all know they could actually play defense. They could actually goaltend. And the fact that they're shooting the puck like crazy and they're giving up a lot of shots is almost a positive, considering they're actually opening up the ice a little bit and actually playing. I think the Islanders are a team that they were to get in, that they could be really dangerous. They could be that really the biggest wild card team in the NHL getting in. I definitely wouldn't want to play them, especially with that goaltending, because Sorokin actually has the pedigree to do it. So they got a little bit of space. We'll see what the Islanders do it as well. But man, to get Vetrano, that would be awesome. And Hannafin, that'd be really good too. They can't afford both, but it had to be one or the other. And they may have to facilitate and get a third team in there to help them out.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that move. I like what you guys talking about. Islanders they're right there, 68 points. Tampa Bay 72, Detroit 72, Philly 72. So, so if one of those teams falls off for some reason and the Islanders get hot, they've won 4 straight. They can make their move in there and make the playoffs. And again, we've all seen it. Good goaltending and good defense can win in the playoffs. So they're a team that can make a move. We got another comment from our buddy Mike. He says, like Enterprise, this podcast always picks me up. Appreciate it, Mike. We're here for you, trying to help you out with your hockey knowledge. We appreciate that. So that's going to be it for our final face-off. Toast, everybody. Let everybody know where they can find you on the X, formerly Twitter. Toast, you're at Toast Clark. Tometich is at Titch4141. Go follow both these guys if you haven't followed them yet. Also, go ahead and check out TotalApexSportsBets.com. Hit up the website. We put it on the website, but also we retweet it on Twitter, on X, our daily bets. So been kind of hot lately. Don't want to jinx it, but me and Toast, we've been rolling here lately on some of these bets. So take a jump on the train while it's hot. Check those
JT?
out. Always looking around. Yep.
Yeah, I want to say 2 things. Apologies, one, to everybody out there, which there's probably like 5 people out there, but nevertheless, apologies to them. That's actually missed Toast Takes and JT's parlay of the day. We've been extremely busy. And I've
Crazy
been
busy the last week.
Yeah, we've been hoarding these good picks, and I've been winning. I lost for about a week and a half. And here's what I've been doing. I just want to tell the listeners, and I could screw myself here, but I'm going to do it anyway. You pick Tampa Bay, Toronto, or Edmonton when they're at home, and when we're actually playing, let's say, a middle tier team or less. And here's the play you're going to want to do it every single time. You get either Kucherov, you either get McKinnon, or you actually either get McDavid, or you even get Marner for an assist. Those 4 guys get one of those an assist. And you put those teams on the money line. That's your second bet. And the third one is those teams actually score over 2.5 total goals. You're going to get it at plus 100. You put $1 million on it every single time. I mean, it's too easy. They're going to score more than 2.5 goals. One of those guys is going to have an assist, and they're going to win the game. So I don't even know why I'm putting out Toast Takes anymore, because they'd be like, he always says that. Well, what else would you want to play? So I mean,
you got to ride the hot streak, Toast. We were looking at it and we're like, okay, those are plus 100 bets. I love it. So we keep putting them in, but then we also are taking them in 2 to 3 picks, same game parlays, and then parlaying with the other parlay.
That's the JT parlay of the day.
That's my JT parlay of the day as plus 6,000. Just missed my plus 6,000 the other day. I mean, just barely.
You know what I'm like, JT?
Plus 6,000
I'm like at the end of rounders. I could sit here, I could bust you up all day, Teddy. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Like just a little at a time, like a little bit at a time. I'm just gonna wear people out. I'm wearing.
Toast just wears me out, and I'm like all in. Toast is like, I'll just. He's like,
I'm like, I've won 10 bets, and I've actually won $300 over a week and a half period. And I'm basically like, I did that in 2 minutes yesterday. But this is where I'm at, man. I'm a winner.
No, it's been nice though. We've been hitting it, but like I said, just been consistent on taking those ones that are just hitting. And again, you're gonna miss those occasionally. Yeah. But man, when these guys are hitting these things, 4 out of 5 games, 6 out of 8 games, like that's just a good solid bet. So yeah, we've been kind of jumping on a few of those. Like I said, we will get out the Toast Takes, the JT Parlay play of the day. We'll get that stuff back on Total Apex Sports. I was at the Combine, NFL Combine all weekend, so I apologize. We got almost no bets out this weekend because I was in Indiana at the Combine the whole time. I was NFL mode all day. I did barely even paid attention to the NHL hockey this weekend, but we'll be back on it. But we have been hitting, and we're gonna get those ones back out there.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to the trade deadline. We got 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday, and you got to expect it's going to be a pretty active deadline, especially like Aaron said, with the cap going up next year. You got to expect a whole. It's going to go up significantly. You're going to expect a whole lot of movement. So looking forward to Friday.
Yep. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. This has been The Stew with JT Brew and NHL Around the Ice with JT and Toast. Special guest, Aaron Tometich. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.